President Donald Trump changing course today, green-lighting Nippon Steel's bid to buy U.S. Steel. Trump says the merger will serve more as a partnership, adding that it'll create 70,000 jobs in the U.S. Trump's announcement comes after the Japanese company offered to invest $14 billion into U.S. Steel if the deal was approved. Both Trump and former President Joe Biden voiced opposition to the deal while on the campaign trail last year. Biden then blocked the merger as one of his final acts in office, citing national security concerns.
And we are staying on top of breaking news. President Trump has approved what he calls a partnership between Pittsburgh's U.S. Steel and Japan's Nippon Steel. It comes after former President Biden rejected a merger, and Trump said he didn't want U.S. Steel to have foreign ownership. Thanks for joining us at 5. I'm Ken Rice.
And I'm Christine Sorensen. KDKA's Ricky Sayer is live in North Braddock with reaction to the deal that Trump says will keep U.S. Steel headquartered right here in Pittsburgh. Ricky.
Yeah, Trump has said this deal will create 70,000 jobs. We know that Nippon has pledged $14 billion for U.S. Steel, and at least $1 billion of those dollars will come right here to the Mon Valley. I'm joined right now by the mayor of North Braddock, Cletus Lee. Mr. Mayor, how are you feeling about this news right now?
Oh, man, it's like early Christmas, man, here in the Mon Valley. I was very optimistic from the beginning, and I said, he's going to make this happen, and he did. And he's protecting at least 11,000 jobs for Pennsylvanians, and then we'll be able to create another 14,000.
What do you fear would happen without this investment?
Oh, it'd have been like any other area, and then the other investments with Cleveland Clips you already seen, they were basically not even part of the deal. They were basically trying to do things, and you see what happened with them. More layoffs, anything that conclaves touch, it was more of a layoff.
So one question that remains here has to do with what partnership means here that President Trump mentioned. Trump said not too long ago that he wanted more of an investment, not a sale of U.S. Steel to Nippon. Now most observers are saying that this does seem like a merger. What do you think changed the president's mind?
I think he looked at the magnitude and what would happen without the jobs in U.S. Steel, who's been around here in the Mon Valley since its creation with Andrew Carnegie. So I think he looked at all those things, and his team I expressed to him to let him know, hey, this deal has to go through. So, kudos to the president for that.
What work has happened behind the scenes here? I know you're not the only local mayor here in the Mon Valley who shares this opinion.
There's several mayors. I mean, when at the beginning it was myself, Mayor Latanzi from Clareton, as well as Mayor Kelly from West Mifflin, going down to the U.S. Steel building to talk to McCall. So, what a difference a day makes, and it's been a long process, and I'm glad we're here.
Wrapping up here, I know that President Trump says he will be here in the Pittsburgh area next Friday. Will you be there?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's the man who made this happen. And like I said before, and I'll say it again, it's not about the red or the blue. It's about what you're going to do. And he did it. So I'm happy for the Mon Valley. This is an early Christmas present for us. And I'm pretty sure the Mon Valley is happy as well. So U.S. Steel will remain here in the Mon Valley. And when I got the news, I didn't know what to say. But I'm here to say I'm ecstatic, and I'm very glad that it's going to be here for many years to come.
Mayor Lee, thank you so much. I also want to pass along here that we know that the United Steelworkers, their leadership has been very against this deal with Nippon. We haven't heard from them yet today, but I do have a call out from them to them, and we're waiting to hear back from them. As for the actual steelworkers themselves, they have been divided, with over time more and more of them supporting a deal between Nippon and U.S. Steel. Reporting in Braddock, Ricky Sayer, KDK TV News.
Ricky, thanks. We have reaction tonight from our U.S. Senators. Republican Dave McCormick in a statement saying only Donald Trump could have made this happen. McCormick says he was in the Oval Office yesterday discussing the deal with the president, and he added, "My priorities are preserving and expanding jobs and investment in the Mon Valley. This partnership gets it done." And Democratic Senator John Fetterman says the original deal was a death sentence for Mon Valley Steel. Nippon coughed up an extra $14 billion, adding, This is why we fight for the union way of life, and I will continue to support the United Steelworkers no matter the cause.
The United States Steel, one of the great companies of the world, U.S. Steel, should remain in our country. And I just don't think a foreign company should control it.
That was President Trump speaking last month, but now he says he will allow U.S. Steel to team up with a Japanese steelmaker, Nippon. Trump says it'll fortify U.S. Steel and keep its headquarters here in Pittsburgh. The president is calling it a partnership. Thanks for joining us at 6. I'm Ken Rice.
And I'm Kim Gable. According to the president's announcement on Truth Social, the partnership between the two steel companies would create at least 70,000 jobs. Again, this is according to Trump, and it would add $14 billion to the economy. The bulk of the investment would happen in the next 14 months. So we want to get right to KDKA's Ricky Sayer with what this partnership means for Pittsburgh and the country.
Yeah, just a few minutes ago, I was actually able to speak with the mayor of West Mifflin. He told me he was sitting there crying when he heard this news, believing that this would save both the Mon Valley as well as steelmaking in the Pittsburgh region. Many of them see this as a historic day, many being both steelworkers as well as Mon Valley leaders. It really does echo what we've heard. That's because many of them have desperately been waiting for an investment like this because they feel that U.S. Steel hasn't on their own invested in these plants. Steelworkers have worried about how many years their plants would survive, and that's why they pushed for a deal like this. And many feel that it's been a roller coaster, as it has felt at times like this deal might not happen. The latest from Nippon has been that they would invest $14 billion, and at least $1 billion of that would go into the Mon Valley. Here's what some steelworkers told us just a few minutes ago.
There's a lot of guys in there with 5 years to maybe 20, 25, and everybody needs, this ensures them to get a pension, be able to put their kids through school, pay their mortgages.
So how are people reacting? How are steelworkers reacting?
Extremely happy right now.
I could take a breath today. It seemed like through this whole sale that was pending, it just gave you stress. You had to go to work and do your job every day safely, and every steel worker did that with this hanging above them, not knowing if tomorrow was going to come, that they had a job or that they had a future.
Now, we did also hear from the United Steelworkers International President, David McCall. That is the union here. Their leadership has been against a deal for many months here. They told us, quote, "We cannot speculate about the impact of today's announcement without more information. Our concerns remain that Nippon, a foreign corporation with a long and proven track record of violating our trade laws, will further erode domestic steelmaking capacity and jeopardize thousands of good union jobs." And a few minutes ago, I'll also tell you that we spoke with Senator John Fetterman. We'll bring you that at 6:30. Reporting live in Braddock, Ricky Sayer, KDK TV News.
All right, Ricky, thank you for that. And we have also learned that President Trump is planning to be in Pittsburgh next Friday at U.S. Steel for a rally. The last time he was in Pittsburgh was on election eve when he made a last-minute pitch to voters here.
U.S. Steel just released a statement. The company says U.S. Steel will remain American and we will grow bigger and stronger through a partnership with Nippon that brings massive investment, new technologies, and thousands of jobs over the next 4 years. KDK caught up with political analyst John Delano to get his take on the deal.
Well, again, I think from a political level, this is only advantageous to President Trump because, frankly, a lot of folks, not necessarily the members of the United Steelworkers Union, but people who live in the Mon Valley wanted to see this happen. I think the larger question has to do with the environmental issues. Those are going to remain. We're going to see what happens in the Mon Valley as a result of the reconstruction of a blast furnace steel industry. But Japan is saying, Nippon Steel is saying they can do it more environmentally friendly. We'll see whether that happens as well.
And Pennsylvania leaders are weighing in on Trump's announcement. Governor Josh Shapiro says, quote, "We have the opportunity to deliver historic investments, ensure the future of American steelmaking continues to run through the Mon Valley while the headquarters of U.S. Steel remains in Pittsburgh, and have our workers right here in Pennsylvania continue leading the world with their skill and innovation."
And Lieutenant Governor Austin Davis, who is from McKeesport, says today's announcement is promising, but I want to make sure everyone involved in the deal holds up their end of the bargain. He says, I look forward to seeing the promised investments become a reality and the workers receive everything they fought for.
State Senate Republican leader Kim Ward calls it a great day in Western Pennsylvania, saying the $28 billion deal will sustain and create a combined total of 25,000 jobs and keep U.S. Steel where it belongs in Western Pennsylvania. Again, the president's estimate was 70,000 jobs. And we continue to follow breaking news. President Trump saying he has approved what he calls a partnership between Japan's Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel. He says it'll keep U.S. Steel headquartered in Pittsburgh.
Just last week, Nippon increased its promised investment to $11 billion over the next 3 years. KDK's Ricky Sayer is in Braddock. And Ricky, you just talked to U.S. Senator John Fetterman, right?
I did just speak with the senator. He told me he believes that this deal will preserve jobs in the Mon Valley, steel-making jobs for generations to come. It stands in contrast, though, to what we've heard from the senator about previous iterations of this deal. He told us today the initial deal was a death sentence for the Mon Valley Works. He for months said he was standing with the steelworkers, specifically the union, which had been against the deal. He told us he and others were able to jam up the deal. This latest deal, he says, is a different situation. Nippon is investing $14 billion into U.S. Steel. Now, I did specifically ask him about what changed his mind about the deal. He said his mind hasn't changed and that just the deal has changed.
This was only ever about national security and protecting their way of life here. And now this is a radically different deal. Why has Nippon coughed up an extra $14 billion that they originally offered back in December of 2023? U.S. Steel and Nippon did not behave in an honorable way from the beginning.
So Fetterman says he has always followed the union. We did have that statement from USW International President David McCall, which read that we cannot speculate about the impact of today's announcement without more information. Our concern remains that Nippon, a foreign corporation with a long and proven track record of violating our trade laws, will further erode domestic steelmaking capacity and jeopardize thousands of good union jobs. I'll also mention that we reached out to Nippon this evening trying to get more information about what exactly this partnership would mean and further details from them. They told us they would get back to us, and we should expect a statement. Reporting live in Braddock, Ricky Sayer, KDK TV News.
And we continue to follow tonight's big story at 7:30 as President Trump says U.S. Steel and Nippon Steel have a deal in place to partner up and keep U.S. Steel American-owned and based in Western Pennsylvania. Thanks for joining us tonight at 7:30. I'm Kim Gable in for Megan Schiller. President Trump says the newly forged deal will create tens of thousands of jobs and bring billions of dollars into the states. KDK's Ricky Sayer has been talking to steelworkers and local leaders to see how they feel this deal will impact the Mon Valley economy.
Braddock was built on steelmaking, and there was a real fear among steelworkers as well as local leaders that there could be a time that steelmaking could disappear here. It's why it was so important for them to hear that this deal would be happening. One mayor we spoke with said they believe that this is going to save the Mon Valley, save steelmaking in Pittsburgh, and it echoes what we've heard from a whole list of leaders as well as steel workers around here, excited to hear about the level of investment coming from Nippon Steel. $14 billion, at least $1 billion of that would come right here to the Mon Valley, where steel workers we spoke with said there has been a lack of investment in these different plants from U.S. Steel, and they just couldn't see a way where U.S. Steel would be giving them more funding to help keep these plants going for years to come. Here's what a local steelworker, the mayor of North Braddock, and Senator John Fetterman told us this afternoon.
I could take a breath today. It seemed like through this whole sale that was pending, it just gave you stress. You had to go to work and do your job every day safely, and every steel worker did that with this hanging above them, not knowing if tomorrow was going to come that they had a job or that they had a future.
Man, it's like early Christmas, man, here in the Mon Valley. I was very optimistic from the beginning, and I said he's going to make this happen, and he did. And he's protecting at least 11,000 jobs for Pennsylvanians, and then we'll be able to create another 14,000.
Now, 18 months later, that's $14 billion more dollars, and these are significant investments in places just like here. And that's, for me, this was only about protecting the steel way of life here in the Valley since 1875. So it's a much different situation now when they originally announced that back in December of 2023.
Republican Senator Dave McCormick issued a statement saying in part only Donald Trump could have made this happen. He says he was in the Oval Office yesterday discussing the partnership with the president, adding, "My priorities are preserving and expanding jobs and investments in the Mon Valley. This partnership gets it done." So there's a lot of optimism here in the Mon Valley on a day that many of them see as historic. Reporting in Braddock, Ricky Sayer, KDK TV News.